Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of these end times. Today is May 13th, 2026, the 109th anniversary of the first appearance of the Blessed Virgin Mary to the three shepherd children, Lucia dos Santos and Francisco and Jacinta Marto at Fatima, Portugal in 1917. To commemorate that event, I want to tell you today about a spiritual event in my life, which I call the 13th Miracle. About a week ago, on Sunday, May the 3rd, I received a very special grace here in my Iowa refuge, which you might refer to as a sign or maybe even a miracle. Even more significant, it was the 13th such sign or miracle that has been experienced by members of our WFRN family in the past 5 years. First, let me give you some background on my experience. Every afternoon, I go upstairs here at my refuge to pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet at 3 o'clock. As I go back and forth along the upstairs hallway, I enter and exit 4 different bedrooms. This particular time, as I got to the top of the stairs, I entered the first bedroom. I encountered an overwhelming scent of perfume. Instantly, I understood it was what they call the odor of sanctity, as mentioned in many holy writings, and which I am sure all of you are also familiar with. If you do an online search for odor of sanctity, you will find it is typically described like the perfume emanating from flowers, but it may not smell like any particular flower, such as roses or lilacs or lilies, but rather a blend of flowers. Well, that is exactly what it smelled like to me. I immediately looked around the room to see if there was a natural explanation, such as an open bar of soap, or maybe a candle, or incense, or perhaps a perfumed love letter. Of course, for those of you who know me, a love letter would be a miracle in itself. Finally, it dawned on me. This is the room where one of my priest nephews always says Mass. Now, I admit this was a new experience for me, as I do not consider myself very much attuned to the spirit world, as based on my past experiences. So despite the unusual circumstances, I began praying the Chaplet of Divine Mercy, not knowing what to expect next. I returned to that same room 7 or 8 times as I moved through the upstairs bedrooms. By the end of the chaplet, about 10 minutes later, that odor of sanctity had entirely dissipated. Nor have I received that same grace any time since. A few days later, I spoke on the phone with my priest nephew about the experience. He replied it could be a sign meant for you and your WFRN Rosary Apostolate. I'm beginning to think he may be right. We are having a pilgrimage here during the last week of July. The sacred scent occurred on May the 3rd, that's 5-3, and on the 5th Sunday of Easter at 3 p.m. Thus the number 5-3 is signified twice, and 53 is the number of Hail Marys in a complete 5-decade rosary. And there's no doubt that Almighty God does speak to mankind through sacred numerology. So Father is right. It is a sign meant for our World Family Rosary Network, as well as for me. It is a personal sign to me that when I decided to not go to Mass that morning, it was a divine inspiration. Now, as I reported last week, Mary told me spiritually at the time, and I quote her, "I do not go to Mass where Jesus is not present." This sacred scent sign occurred on May the 3rd, as I said, that's 5-3, which was the 5th Sunday of Easter at 3 p.m., another 5-3, to emphasize Mary's Rosary. It still amazes me that I received not just one, but 2 spiritual signs on the same day, both in the morning and in the afternoon. Another amazing significance is that ever since 2021, members of our WFRN family have received a dozen similar such signs or miracles, which are all documented on the Miracles tab of my thirdeaglebooks.com website. And this is the latest one, which affected me. And it constitutes our 13th sign. Not all these miracles, however, are equal. As Paula has pointed out to me, there are varying levels of importance to miracles. Thus, I prefer to say that the odor of sanctity I experienced was a spiritual sent sign. That it was number 13, however, was very significant. At Fatima, Our Lady appeared on the 13th day of 6 consecutive months. That is 5 months in total, starting in May and ending in October. And she always requested the praying of the Rosary. In fact, in the final apparition, she identified herself by saying, "I am the Lady of the Rosary." The number 13 is also significant in end times Bible prophecy, because Jesus plus his 12 apostles, who symbolize our beleaguered Catholic Church, adds up to the number 13. In conclusion, perhaps my mini miracle was a sign to potential pilgrims this year that an even greater miracle might occur at our 2026 WFRN pilgrimage. There is nothing to say that we can't have more than 13 miracles. After all, the number 15 is also very significant, as I am sure all of you are aware. And there comes the train. Who can forget the amazing miracle of the beads that took place during our pilgrimage 4 years ago? Therefore, I urge everyone interested in attending this summer's pilgrimage, there goes the train. If you're interested in this summer's pilgrimage, please email Sandra Levine at wfrnpilgrimage@yahoo.com, and also visit my website, thirdeaglebooks.com. Just open the pilgrimage tab and then click on 2026 for the most up-to-date schedule. Finally, I must say that I have been very humbled by this mystical experience, the type of which, as I said, I very rarely get. But I will be happy to discuss it with all of you in our WFRN family at the upcoming pilgrimage, as well as to learn of any special signs or miracles that you may have received in your own past spiritual lives. So thank you all very much, and may God bless all of you. And I hope to see all of you again on my next prophecy video. And for those who do plan to attend our pilgrimage this summer, you will be able to see how my new Marian shrine looks at night.